this is a fat old lady in PJs. Today I'm going to talk to you about why weather forecasters are wrong. Weather is something that's near and dear to my heart. I know you don't know much about me because I'm just kind of starting out on YouTube, but I'm an amateur weather forecaster, okay? I never had any formal meteorology training, folks. I'm not scientific. Trust me, I fell asleep in science class, and I'm, not the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to stuff like that. But what I have done is for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been forecasting the weather for myself. Been doing a lot of reading on it. I have my own electronic weather station, and I do know how to read the stats of my local area here. I've also come to know like a lot of the weather patterns and stuff like that. But I want to talk to you about why are forecasters wrong. I don't know about you, but I get really ticked off when they say it's going to rain and it doesn't. It bypasses us. Or what really ticks me off is when they change the weather forecast like 3 or 4 times in one day. I mean, come on. Flip a coin, guy. You'd be better off. You at least got a 50-50 chance then, right? Well, one of the things is that they never get outside, these forecasters. I can't say anything bad about them because we've come a long way in 50 years, folks. I mean, come on. We got this early warning system. They know like days in advance if we're going to get a snowstorm or a blizzard to warn people. And in the case of a tornado, we've got like a half hour's warning when they had like none 50 or 100 years ago. So they're right on the ball and they are saving lives. I can't say anything bad about them. The problem is that they never get outside. They sit in front of their computers. They got these computer models. What they do is they'll have readings. There's different ones. There's the Euro, and they've got other different ones that they use. A computer reads the readings, and then they try to make a prediction as to what the weather will be based on that. Well, weather models have been known to be wrong, and sometimes they conflict. I always wondered why you get these hikers, and they go in the mountains, and they get caught by a blizzard or something like that, and then they got to be rescued. And I thought to myself, well, how could they be so dumb? Well, one thing is that they rely on the weather forecasts, which sometimes are wrong. Another thing my daughter pointed out to me is she used to live in the Seattle area there by Mount Rainier, and she said that the people who get in trouble here are usually people that aren't from the area. They don't know the weather patterns or the mountain itself, and they'll come in here and they'll just climb blindly without knowing anything about it, okay? What a lot of the weather forecasting stations here is they are geared to the city where they're from, okay? Most of the TV stations here are from the Green Bay area, and their forecasts are geared towards Green Bay, but a lot of times it has nothing in common with it's totally off the wall as far as somebody that lives like 30 miles to the south or 50 miles to the south. And it's not their fault. They rely on the National Weather Service weather mostly. They just kind of read it and report the weather. A lot of times, too, the reason why they are wrong is just because of the terrain. Got the topography. You might have a place like I'm in a river valley here. Sometimes it's up really high, like maybe a mountainous area, or you got a lot of hills. That's going to make a big difference with it. The elevation, too, is going to have a real big difference with it, as well as if you're in a wooded area or if you're in an open area. Like where I work, it's like 4 miles from my house. Their elevation is about 100 feet higher than what I am. And a lot of the stats come from the airport. Well, that whole area of town, that whole end of town is all open area. They cleared it out. It's got a lot of businesses, got the airport in there. That wind just whips through there. So that makes a big difference. What happens is a lot of times it'll rain on the west side of town. Just rain, poor cats and dogs. And I'll come home on the east side of town and it'll be dry as a bone. The weather too can vary just as much as 5 miles from here. The wind direction is different on the west end of town than it is here. It's different in Kimberly than it is in here. It's really different in Shawano and Oshkosh. Now, whenever we have any severe weather, I don't know if it has to do with topography or what, but Shawano and Oshkosh always seems to be hit with severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. And another thing is the storm intensity. They can have storm warnings out, and it looks like it's coming right towards you, and then it will veer and it'll go someplace else and miss you. Oh, here my neighbor informs me, and he's probably correct, is that to the west of our city, about 20 miles, there is a ridge, and he says that protects our area from severe weather. We don't get a whole lot of it here. We have in the past, but not a whole lot, and he may be right. Another thing is a storm may just weaken and and fizzle out. And another thing I think is just plain God. I think God wants us, man, to know that he's not such a big shot, that God is still in control of things. And the weather, let's face it, folks, we just can't control it. We can maybe try to predict that it's coming the best we can. We can't stop tornadoes, can't stop windstorms. So there you are. Now, what can you do about this forecasting errors and the fact that the weather forecasts are frequently wrong? Well, you need to take control of it yourself. Learn how to forecast the weather for yourself, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of times you'll be maybe we got our cell phones with us and stuff like that. Sometimes they don't always work because of a storm. It might knock out the cell phone towers. You won't have any internet access or anything like that. And you might be at a picnic or a ball game or something like that, and you need to know how to look at the clouds, how to notice stuff around you, and figure out what's going on. And I'm not going to do that in this video, but we'll have some more coming up. We will show you how to predict the weather for yourself. It's really important, especially if you are out in the wilderness or camping or something like that. Maybe you can't get a good cell signal. You need to learn how to protect yourself. And we'll do that in future videos. Thanks for watching. Fat Old Lady in PJs out.